Support for You Bet Your Garden comes from Lehigh Valley Home and Garden Center. Everything for outdoor living. Locally grown flowers plus a 7,500 square foot showroom of patio furniture. Lehigh Valley Home and Garden Center in Allentown. More at lvhgc.com.
You're listening to an encore presentation of You Bet Your Garden.
From the Seed Saving Studios at Lehigh Valley Public Media in Bethlehem, PA, it is time for another instructional episode of chemical-free horticultural hijinks. You Bet Your Garden. Did you grow a fabulous tomato, pepper, or bean crop this season? I'm your host, Mike McGrath, and on today's show, we'll reveal how you can save the seeds of your best-looking subjects and grow them out again next year. Maybe. Plus, evasive answers to your fabulous phone call questions, comments, tips, tricks, suggestions, and tantalizingly taut tremulations. So keep your eyes and or ears right here, cats and kittens, because it's all coming up faster than you eating your tomatoes and saving them too. Right after this.
Support for You Bet Your Garden comes from Lehigh Valley Home and Garden Center. Everything for outdoor living. Locally grown flowers plus a 7,500 square foot showroom of patio furniture. Lehigh Valley Home and Garden Center in Allentown. More at lvhgc.com.
Welcome to another thrilling episode of You Bet Your Garden from the studios of Rodale Institute Radio and Television at Lehigh Valley Public Media in Bethlehem, PA. I am your host, Mike McGrath. And for those of you watching on TV, you're actually going to see me show you how to save some seeds. For those of you listening on the radio or a podcast, don't forget, you can always go watch the show for what we're doing when we say we're doing something here. Okay? Well, that was confusing enough. Oh, yes, the question of the week is about saving seeds, so stay tuned for that. After lots of your fabulous phone calls at 833-727-9588. Anna, welcome to You Bet Your Garden.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for taking my call.
Well, thank you for making it, Anna. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I am just ducky. Thanks for asking. And where is Anna doing fine?
In Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, okay. Very good. We're getting a lot of calls from New England lately. That's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, your podcast has good reach. I've been listening for a couple of years from up here.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Yes, we love our podcasters, a million ears a year. It's just amazing. What can we do for Anna in Providence?
So I love growing heirloom tomatoes, and I grow some other things as well in raised beds and fabric pots. Mm-hmm. And I've been at this for a few years, and I'm just learning about crop rotation and that things should be moving for like multiple years, not just 1 or 2 years.
Right.
So I'm trying to plan things out. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't grow other things prone to verticillium wilt, I guess, in the same space. But then I kind of got myself a little over-researched and figured I better give you a call to straighten me out.
Right. Okay. So it's a great question. Tomatoes develop a symbiotic relationship with organisms that are in every piece of soil, and that is the organism that causes verticillium wilt. So let's talk about a 2 cubic foot space here. The first year a tomato is grown in that space, it will kind of attract the verticillium wilt organisms to its roots, but nothing bad will happen.
Okay.
Second year you grow a tomato plant in that exact same spot, more verticillium will develop. Now it's breeding down there around the roots, but nothing bad will happen. Third year, now the soil is full of verticillium wilt in that like 2 cubic feet. And so the tomato you plant in that same spot, the third year, the leaves will turn yellow on the bottom and progress up the plant. Mm-hmm. Now, if it's if it's an indeterminate tomato, like most heirlooms are, it keeps growing and generally outruns the wilt. But your time is up there. Now it's time to plant in a space that's been tomato-free for at least 2 years. That's if you're a gambler. If you're conservative, if you're conservative, It should be 3 years where you're growing other stuff in that plot. And the nice thing, and this is the thing that people often don't hear about, is it's not permanent. By the time year 3 comes around, you can replant in that original spot because the verticillium hasn't had anything to feed on. So it's died off and the cycle starts again.
Okay.
So where does that leave us?
That helps, definitely. And I guess I was reading one of your posts about certain tomatoes being resistant to verticillium, but even if they're resistant, the verticillium's still growing, right?
Well, there are named varieties, especially hybrid varieties, that will have letters after the variety name.
Yep.
It'll have, in our case, the letters V and F for verticillium and fusarium, which is a similar wilt, much more common down south. It may have other letters there too, showing that it's resistant to tobacco mosaic virus and nematodes. But it's the V and F that you want to try if, like most of us, you just don't have enough space to do this properly. There are also grafted tomatoes.
Oh, okay.
This was hugely popular like 40 years ago, and then it kind of fell out of favor. But now it's come back, and a lot of catalogs and better independent garden centers will now sell you tomatoes with the variety you want, grafted on a highly resistant rootstock. A rootstock that is essentially worthless for growing tomatoes, but it is very resistant to verticillium wilt. So make sure, and this is something we can't stress enough, when you have a grafted plant, whether it's a fruit tree, a rose, a tomato plant, the graft always has to stay above the soil line.
Got it. Okay.
So you can't do the trick of burying that tomato really deep. But the benefits you get from and grafted tomatoes are available to kind of conquer all sorts of different ailments. So you want to make sure if you try this that it was deliberately grafted onto a wilt-resistant rootstock.
Yeah, and I've been growing starts actually under shop lights like you recommended with really great success.
Good.
So I might not be as, ready to do the grafted thing just yet, but that is really interesting. And I remember you mentioning like with roses and stuff too, that the graft must stay exposed. It can't get buried, right?
Right, or the rootstock will take over. So if you've had success starting seeds inside, some seed companies will actually sell you the rootstock, the seeds of the rootstock, and you can graft it yourself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It is not that easy to do on many plants, but it's very easy to do with tomatoes. Haven't you ever had a tomato fall over and before you didn't pick it up right away and all of a sudden these ghostly white roots were coming out where it touched the ground? Tomatoes love to root.
Oh, okay.
And it's a fun thing. And if you fail, you fail. I mean, that's, it's not the worst thing.
But, I do that plenty.
Yeah, you do the rotation, you move it around. Now, the interesting thing is you said you're using grow bags, right?
Yeah, some grow bags, and I filled it with like a rough approximation of Mel's mix of the peat, vermiculite, and compost.
Oh, Mel Bartholomew from Square Foot Gardening.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm a big fan of him.
Yes, he was a great guy. Yeah, okay, so no garden soil.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I live in a city, and there was plenty of lead paint washing off houses for a couple hundred years. So
very good.
I wanted to just avoid all of that.
Excellent. So one thing we don't know, and this is something I apologize, I've been planning to try to research this. When you are growing in a soil-free mix like you have created, it's possible that there are no verticillium organisms in there.
Oh, okay.
And so if your tomatoes were raised in a soil-free mix, and then they get planted in a soil-free mix, there is the possibility that the verticillium won't be there to get started.
Okay, that's interesting.
So, certainly if you're going to roll the dice, roll them with the soil-free mix containers and see what happens.
Okay, that's good because I have a few of those now that are stably in the sunny spot, which is where the tomatoes have been happiest in raised beds as well. But it'll be it could be a couple seasons of experimentation. And for the ones that if I don't roll the dice and I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna try to get stuff out of here for 3 years, it's better to be putting in things like beans and peas and carrots and stuff that aren't susceptible to verticillium. Is that right?
You will read in gardening books and just about every bit of advice that you get from an extension service about other plants that are susceptible to verticillium wilt. I've never seen it. I've never seen it happen.
Fascinating.
I don't think twice about what I rotate my tomatoes with.
Okay. So, if I don't mind dealing with a whole mess of strawberries in a few years to try to move them, I could just throw strawberries in there.
You could try. Now, they're said to be susceptible, as you probably know.
Yeah, that's what I've read.
But again, I've never seen it happen.
Interesting. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I could ask you questions all day, but I don't want to be greedy about your time. So I can let you go now.
Great. Thank you. Call us back, next time you have a new question.
Okay. Sounds good. Take good care. I appreciate it.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Two little bugs, little bugs, little bugs, little bugs, little bugs, little bugs. Two little bugs, little bugs, little bugs, little bugs, little bugs, little bugs. Two little bugs, little bugs, little bugs, little bugs, little bugs, little bugs. Two little bugs, little bugs, little bugs, little bugs, little bugs, little bugs. Little bug, little bug, little bug, little bug, little bug, little bug. One little bug, little bug, little bug, little bug, little bug, little bug. One little bug, little bug, little bug, little bug, little bug, little bug. One little bug, little bug, little bug, little bug, little bug, little bug.
Well, it's time for me to take a little break and sadly announce that for most of us, the time has come to start removing new flowers from our tomatoes and pepper plants because there just isn't enough time left for those flowers to become full-fledged fruits. But don't go deflowering your delicacies just yet, because we'll be right back with important information about seed saving and more of your seedy phone calls. I'm Mike McGrath, and you're listening to You Bet Your Garden from the studios of Rodale Institute Radio at Lehigh Valley Public Media in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Support for You Bet Your Garden is provided by the Espoma Company, offering a complete selection of natural organic plant foods and potting soils. More information about Espoma and the Espoma Natural Gardening Community can be found at espoma.com.
Welcome back to another thrilling episode of You Bet Your Garden from the studios of Rodale Institute Radio at Lehigh Valley Public Media in Bethlehem, PA. I am your host, Mike McGrath. Coming up later in the show, we're going to tell you how to save seeds of some of your favorite garden produce and grow them out again next year. Not only is it cost saving, but your seeds will acclimate themselves to your temperature, your climate, your own temper, and all of that stuff. So after 5 or 10 years of saving and reusing seed, you might have a variety that's dedicated to your own garden. Isn't that exciting? We'll tell you how to do it after lots more of your fabulous phone calls at 833-727-9588. Ann, welcome to You Bet Your Garden.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Ann. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am just ducky. Thanks for asking. Ducky is always happy to be recognized. Where is Ann doing good?
I'm in Norrie, Pennsylvania.
No, I'm Nori?
Newry, like in Ireland.
Huh, where? You've stumped the chump here, Ann. I have no idea where that is.
It's about 50 miles southwest of State College.
Oh, okay, so it's not anywhere, really. Is there a stoplight in town? Is that where you go for excitement? Hey, look, it changed.
There is one stoplight. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good Friday evening. Oh, look, it's yellow. All right, Ann, what can we do for you?
Okay, I have 6 raised beds.
Excellent.
And, I love them. Mm-hmm. And I was doing some harvesting of beets, and I was, how you're thinking while you're doing, and I was wondering what's the best way on cleanup? I've had them for a while. In fact, several I've had for a long while. And I was wondering, do I leave leaves in there? Because I tend to clean everything out.
Right.
At the end. And, in the past, whenever in my in-ground part of the garden, I let things in and then we just till it under. And since we're not tilling, what's a good way to clean up the bed?
Well, aren't you going to eat your beets?
Oh, yeah. But just like some of the leaves and like the potato vines and,
I see. Well, do you have a compost pile?
Yes, I do have. I actually have a tumbler. Mm-hmm. And I also have a pile. Okay,
great. Well, things like tomato vines, potato plants, everything like that can go into the compost. That could either go into the tiller or it could go into a big open pile. The leaves of those kind of plants, especially leaves of string beans, green beans, mm-hmm. are actually very nitrogen rich. The legumes are much more valuable in a compost pile than just a regular detritus of fruits and vegetables. Yes, but it is a good idea to get everything out of there, especially if you said you're growing potatoes, right?
I have potatoes, yep.
So at the very end of the season, make sure you really dig around in that area. Volunteer potatoes are fun. But every once in a while, if we get late blight spores blowing into the region, they can be carried over by unharvested potatoes. So it's a really good idea to try to get all those little guys because,
Oh, okay. That's a really good idea because, sometimes I have renegades, that come up the next year and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Volunteer potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
I used to love them until I found out that they can harbor the late blight that caused the potato famine in Ireland years and years ago.
Okay.
So make sure everything is out, maybe even level the beds real nicely. And then what I like to do is cover the beds with a layer of shredded fall leaves.
Okay.
And that prevents heaving and thawing of the soil. The leaves will start to slowly break down and release nutrients. There are a number of weeds that germinate in the winter time, and it prevents them from getting a head start. The only thing you need to remember is in the spring, remove that mulch, push it to the side 2 weeks before you want to plant anything because the mulch will keep the soil at a constant temperature. And by removing the mulch, you allow the sun to warm up the soil and heat it up much more quickly for your new crops.
Okay. We always plant garlic in September, beginning of October, so we always do the chopped up leaves over them.
Right.
We'll just do it for all the beds.
Oh, they love that. And one thing about garlic, one thing we've learned over the years is, especially in some in a place like yours where it's a somewhat cold climate, you have more of a winter than I do. Always better to get it in early in September than to wait till October. That gives the garlic more time to develop a good root system before the ground can freeze.
Okay. Can I ask you another question about the garlic? I can't remember if you said this or I read it somewhere, that like a week or so before you plant, put it in the fridge.
No, never said that.
Okay.
No, that would be unnatural.
Okay.
Yeah, just, single cloves, good condition. Where you are, I'd have them close to 6 inches deep. But no pre-chilling, because they're going to get chilled for the next 6 months.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and actually, now I'm reminding myself of something I wrote years ago. Never put garlic or tomatoes in the fridge. It can only damage their flavor.
Right.
Okay, Ann?
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure to talk to a fellow garlic grower.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ann. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. That number to call, scratch it into your drywall. 833-727-9588. Brian, welcome to You Bet Your Garden.
Hello. Good to talk to you. Hi there.
Good to talk to you, Brian. Hi back at you. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty fine today outside. I live in New Tripoli, Pennsylvania. New Tripoli, as we say here.
I was going to say, because I call it New Tripoli.
Well, that's what the locals call it, too. Yep.
And tell me where the old Tripoli is.
It's in, actually, North Africa. New Tripoli, if I can take 1 second. I'm a history professor, by the way.
Please, yeah.
Was named in honor of the American victory against the so-called Barbary pirates in under Jefferson, where the American Marines captured Tripoli in what's now Libya.
Oh, wow. That's actually exciting. Pirates back in the Jeffersonian days?
That's right, yeah, back around 1802, 1803. Yeah, there was a small battle there. It's very confusing, but apparently local farmers were so impressed that they renamed the village that, and a couple of streets in the village are named after figures in the Jefferson administration. So that's the fact.
But it turned out to be a bad idea when pirates invaded, because they got confused about where they were, and being pirates would never stop to ask for directions.
That's right.
All right, enough chit-chat, Bri. What do you got?
Okay, here's the deal. I have a rural property there. I'm not actually a farmer, but it's a rural property. And I have a plot where it had been a strawberry patch for a few years. It's the size, by the way, is about 20 feet by 40 feet, so it's not a big area. And it's got good soil because it was an filled-up old swimming pool with a good soil put in it. So I want to remove that weed-choked strawberry patch. It's now past its prime. And put in a small recreational orchard, which I'm guessing I have enough room for maybe 6 trees or so, 6 to 8 small trees. And I wonder what to do. And I don't want to do a lot of spraying, And I called a farmer friend of mine who suggested a good tree would be a Montmorency cherry, otherwise known as a sour cherry.
Okay, yeah.
And I was thinking about that, and I was curious what you thought about that and whether it was a good choice and whether there might be other fruits that might also be appropriate for that.
Well, he actually named a really good low-care fruit. Cherries might be the most disease-free and, to some degree, pest-free fruits.
Okay.
But do they come in a dwarf size? My understanding, they do? You can get a dwarf one?
Yep, I can get a dwarf one. The size only goes up to about 8 to 12 feet, so it's small.
Right, that would be considered a semi-dwarf, but that's better than the old standard. For years and years, you could only get full-size trees. The one thing you have to prepare for, and it's interesting because now you'll know this as you're planting, is birds will fight you for every cherry when they're ripe. So maybe as you plant, you can plan some sort of protection. Now, bird netting is not going to help you. The birds just sit on the netting while they eat your cherries.
Oh,
but if you're able to estimate the final size and knock out some sort of structure that you would then throw bird netting over, you'd be way ahead of the game.
I see.
But I do endorse it. It is a lot of fun. I know they're called sour cherries. Mm-hmm. My good friend Gordon Smith, who took the pictures for my Kitchen Garden A to Z coffee table book and is a great gardener. He has a huge one, a standard, in his yard. And they're not sour to me. I mean, they're amazing tasting cherries. Yeah. So, I double endorse that. The other carefree tree would be a pear tree.
Pear tree.
Yeah, pear trees are really not susceptible to disease or pests. Mm-hmm. The only time you really have to do something with a pear tree is if you get so many pears on a branch that it starts bending and breaking.
Oh.
then you need to thin the fruits. But otherwise, again, a very carefree fruiting tree. The
Embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, very much so. And the ones to avoid, unless you really want to be paying a lot of attention and do a lot of work to get your harvest, are peaches and apples. In the Northeast, apples are prone to so many pests and diseases. That's why you see so many apples grown in Washington State, because on the other side of the Rockies, a lot of these pests and diseases are not present. So it's much easier to be an apple grower in Washington State. And peaches are just a pain in the butt, but of course the fruit is like legendary.
Yeah.
But if you want low work, cherries and pears, as long as you like them both, that would be a great idea. But I will also say, because you were talking about, keeping them close together, belay that idea and put more space in between the trees than you think necessary, so you won't always be pruning to keep them apart.
Well, that sounds like a plan. I do appreciate that.
All right. My pleasure.
Proceed.
Watch out for those pirates, man.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. Helen, welcome to You Bet Your Garden.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike. How are you doing today?
I am just ducky. Thanks for asking. Where is Helen?
I am calling from Pennsauken, New Jersey.
What can we do for Helen in Pennsauken?
I am having a problem with squash and harlequin bugs in my raised bed.
Okay.
And we've tried using neem oil to get rid of them, and I've enjoyed using the sprayer to just spray them straight off the leaves and watch them fall.
Right.
But it doesn't seem to be getting them to go away, and they've completely killed my kohlrabi and...
Well, you should thank them for that, Helen. Now you don't have to try and eat it.
The leaves were so good in salad. It was yummy.
I always thought kohlrabi would make a great spaceship in a science fiction movie.
It looks really strange, yeah.
Okay, so you have harlequin bugs, which are a form of stink bug. Like our marmorated one that we have here. I'm surprised that you have harlequin bugs. They're more common down south than they are in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. And when you say squash, do you mean squash beetles, the elongated creatures?
Yeah, that's what they look like. Kind of dark so that they almost blend in with the leaves. Also look sort of like stink bugs.
I would say you probably just have a different form of stink bug then, because because squash bugs are kind of long and narrow, more shaped like a lightning bug. So, okay, so you're growing in a raised bed. Okay, how big is the bed?
It's about 3 by 6.
Oh, okay. Okay, real nice and easy not to step in at 3 feet wide, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What did you fill it with?
We filled it with organic garden soil that had some perlite mixed in.
Okay.
And then I mixed in a little bit of Dr. Earth's tomato and vegetable food into the bed as I was filling it with dirt. And that's it.
Okay. I've seen those products around, and they're natural and/or organic, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep it organic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to try to help you do that. And what are you growing in the bed again besides the dreaded kohlrabi?
I've also got some tomatoes and some leeks. The leeks are doing pretty good. We had zucchini, but between the damage from the bugs and them trying to take over, I just cut them out.
Okay. Yeah, stink bugs, they are a problem. There is a trap that you can buy, a stink bug trap, and it attracts them. Did you have the stink bugs in your home over the winter?
No, not that we noticed, but we also have a cat who likes to hunt things.
Oh, yeah. We have 2 kittens, and one of them is a straight bug eater. I think you're on the right track with the neem oil. Now, you said that you've tried getting rid of them with sharp streams of water, right?
Yes, we've tried hitting them with sharp streams of water. It's kind of fun because I like seeing them fall off and die.
Yeah, but I think they're too big to be as negatively affected by that as aphids. That's the real cure for aphids. So what I'm going to suggest is a 2-pronged approach. Look for the stink bug trap. My understanding is you need to hang it right in the plant, right on the plant. And then the stink bugs are attracted to it and crawl into it and die. I think it is made by a company called Rescue. They are the premier makers of insect traps. In addition to that, I'm going to suggest you spray them directly with either insecticidal soap or horticultural oil. And I'll tell you a deep, dark secret. I probably shouldn't keep saying this because friends of mine sell the pre-made stuff. But I have found non-stick cooking spray to be a great alternative. It is what I use when I have to approach a yellow jacket nest or on the rare occasion that I have a pest out there. Yeah, it will coat them. You know, you Pam them to death, so to speak. You coat them with oil, and insects breathe through their exoskeleton, and when they're covered with oil, they can't breathe and they die. And of course, all you're doing is spraying a little canola oil or olive oil around, so you're not harming anything. So hopefully that and the traps should help you out.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, good luck to you. Sorry to hear about your troubles.
Thank you very much. Hey, but now I know how to fix them, so thank you so much for your help.
Oh, my pleasure. You take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Well, it's time for me to take a little break and deliver a final reminder for those of you who wish to repair or renew a cool season lawn that now is the time to aerate, reseed, overseed, and do just about everything else to improve your bluegrass, fescue, or rye. Oh my! But don't go looking for that old seed spreader just yet, because we'll be right back with important information about seed saving and more of your fabulous phone calls. I'm Mike McGrath, and you're listening to You Bet Your Garden from the studios of Rodale Institute Radio at Lehigh Valley Public Media in beautiful Bethlehem, PA.
Support for You Bet Your Garden is provided by the Espoma Company, offering a complete selection of natural organic plant foods and potting soils. More information about Espoma and the Espoma Natural Gardening Community can be found at espoma.com.
This is 91.3 FM WLVR Bethlehem, a broadcast service of Lehigh University, streaming online at WLVR.org from the Univest Public Media Center.
Welcome back to You Bet Your Garden from the studios of Rodale Institute Radio at Lehigh Valley Public Media in Bethlehem, PA. I am your host, Mike McGrath, and we're in the stretch now, cats and kittens. In just a little bit, we'll tell you how to save the seeds of some of your favorite plants, all of the plants in the bean family, any kind of pepper, any kind of tomato, and we'll warn you why you should not try to save seeds from your pumpkins or other squash. What could he mean by that? You'll find out after more of your fabulous phone calls at 833-727-9588. Marion, welcome to You Bet Your Garden.
Well, thank you, and thank you for taking my call.
Thank you so much for making it, Marion. How you doing?
I am doing fine in Mercerville, New Jersey, which is center state near the Delaware River.
What could we do for Marion?
Okay, I have peppers, pepper plants, and these are the sweet little Italian peppers.
Oh, I love those. Yes. Sometimes called the Italian frying pepper.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Now, before you move on and tell us what's going on, I want to mention to people that, and it was confirmed again this year, I grow a great variety of peppers. And my sweet Italian peppers were the first to color up and ripen, and they are way ahead of any kind of bell pepper or any other sweet pepper that I planted, even the little mini bells. Okay, so proceed.
Okay, so at the junction of the branch that goes off of the stem, that area is getting brown.
Okay.
Turning brown. And so I did some research on the internet, and I went to the garden center, and then I I also contacted you, as you know, and you asked me some questions. You asked me, are they growing in raised beds or on flat ground? And I said it's flat. They are in a bed, but it's not raised in your criteria.
Okay.
It's only raised about 4 inches.
Okay.
Have you been feeding them? No. Are they mulched? No. Are they growing in or near a treated lawn? One of the plants is about 4 foot away, and the other is about 7 foot away from the lawn. And those two actually are fine. It's the ones that are about 4 foot away that are having problems.
Okay.
And it says, how do you water? And I said, once a week unless it rains.
Okay, good. Now, you forgot to tell us the diagnosis you got from the garden center and or the internet.
And the research. Okay. I'm going to try to say it, and then I'll spell it. Phytophthora blight.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's a tough one. I'm not going to try to pronounce it either. But how do your peppers look except for this little discoloration in the crotch?
They look fine, and they're being productive, although they are slower in being productive.
Yeah,
than
but you know,
in
if you
previous
did any kind of research, you know you don't have the blight. This thing is deadly. It is biblical. It is caused by what's called a water mold, and it is most prevalent in poorly draining areas that hold water. And even the institutional, the universities and extension services, when they're giving advice to farmers, say whether you do it for anything else or not, you should grow your peppers in raised beds so that they drain well and this disease doesn't happen. But if you had this disease, your leaves would be all discolored, your peppers would be rotting, things would be just awful. It is not unusual for parts of a pepper plant to become kind of woody because they are perennials in their native climate where they don't freeze. So I bring my peppers inside in pots over the winter, keep them under a nice light, keep them warm, put them out again the following spring. And over the years, the stem becomes really woody, almost like a small tree. So that's not a bad sign. The blight you describe is absolutely fatal. You know, from the research you read, there's no way to save your plants once this thing strikes. And it is a little bit like late blight of tomatoes. Once it would start striking, it would strike hard, especially with all the rain we've had this season.
Okay.
So, you know, I think this is another case where you're looking too closely. If the leaves are good and the peppers are progressing, you've got nothing wrong. Just continue doing what you're doing. If something starts to go really south, then unfortunately your only thing to do is pull out the peppers and discard them. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think your peppers are quite normal. One thing about a lot of sweet peppers is once they turn fully green, it can take 2 or 3 weeks for them to show the first signs of ripening up to their final color. And all of us are impatient when this happens.
Yes.
So just be patient. Don't worry about them so much. But if you are concerned, this fall would be a great time to make that area into a raised bed 4 feet wide. Just add like 4 more inches of soil and box it in, and then you would be safe from this water mold absolutely forever because of the drainage that you get.
Oh, well, that's good advice, and that's doable since we've already got the base with the wood there anyway.
Oh, so. Yeah, absolutely. Just make sure the bed is only 4 feet wide so you can tend all the plants without stepping in it.
Yes, and the beds are currently 4 by 8.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, all you got to do is build them up some more.
Right. Okay. So that sounds like a good plan. Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Marion.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It is time for the question of the week, which we're calling the crash course on saving some seeds for next season. Steve in Big Fork, Western Montana writes, I'm interested in saving seeds from this year's garden for use next year. I'd appreciate a general discussion about this topic. Well, I suspect that a lot of cost-conscious folks are having the same thoughts right now, Steve, and the basics are just what they need. So let's bullet point this puppy. 1. Basic rule. Hybrid seeds are the result of crossing the pollen of two different plants in the same species to create a new and unique variety. By law, all hybrid seeds and plants must have the word hybrid before their variety name and or be designated as F1. Now, because these plants contain the DNA of two different plants, seed saved from a hybrid plant will not produce plants identical to the one you grew. They might be better, they might be worse, they might be weird. But hybrid seeds will germinate. So if you're a gambling man, go for it. Number two. The other side of the coin is our open pollinated plants, which we call OPs. Seed saved from an OP will be identical to the parent plant unless it's in the squash family, which we'll get to in a little bit. Number 3, important note, hybrid seeds have been around for centuries and are not genetically engineered, okay? You, as a gardener, can't buy genetically engineered seeds or plants. Got it? All right, let's get saving. We're going to do 2 up front that I call easy peasy. The first one, any kind of beans. That's green beans, as in string beans, wax beans, lima beans, and storage beans like pinto, garbanzo, kidney, and black beans. If you're eating some of the plants young off the vine, as you would with green beans, pick them small and frequently, but stop when there's about 6 weeks left in the season. Allow the remaining bean pods to become dry and brittle on the vine. Don't rush this step. When the time comes, shell them out and store the beans in a cool, dry place. Now, if you're saving dried beans, like these beautiful scarlet runner beans you can see if you're watching the TV here, you can eat some of them in stews and soups and such over the winter, but be sure to save some for planting next season. Number 2 on the easy peasy list is peppers. The secret here is to allow the peppers, hot or sweet, to ripen up completely. No green peppers are in between colors, like purple. Leave them on the plant for about a week after you're certain they're fully ripe at their final color and ready to go. Then bring them inside, cut them open, and place the seeds on a dish in a cool, dry spot until you can snap a sample seed in half. Toss that one away. Store your seeds in small envelopes on which you will write the variety name. And again, for television, the pepper we cut open here is fully ripe. It is naturally a yellowish orange colored pepper, and these seeds are good to germinate. Okay, we move on to the moderately difficult but very popular tomatoes. Select 2 or 3 of the nicest looking fruits from a single open pollinated plant and let them sit on the vine past their dead ripe stage to ensure that the collected seeds will be fully grown and viable. Bring the fruits inside and squish the seeds out into a bowl. Note that unlike the other kinds of seeds, tomato seeds have a gelatinous coating that must be dealt with before you can store them. So add water, at least as much as there is juice in that bowl. Stir well. Day 2, stir well and don't discuss the smell with anyone. Day 3, skim some of the scum that has formed on the surface off. Add more water, stir well, walk away for a couple of minutes, and then come back and skim all the nasty stuff off the surface, including any seeds. Floaters with tomatoes will not sprout, so you don't want them. Pour the water containing the seeds that didn't float, the good ones, into a strainer and rinse them righteously. Keep rinsing and blotting the bottom of the strainer with paper towels until all the nasty gelatinous stuff is gone. Then hang the strainer in front of a small size fan, like the kind you use at an office desk or when you're out camping. Keep blotting and gently stirring until the water is gone. Then continue fanning until the seeds are dry enough to snap in half. Store in a cool, dry place. And finally, we move on to the category, forget about it. Squash, melon, pumpkins, and cukes. This is the Pro Bowl. Promiscuous squash bees will go from flower to flower of different plants in this family, and the seeds you thought would produce another fabulous Connecticut field pumpkin will instead deliver ghostly giant white dipper gourds the following year. Professional seed savers either have to cage and hand pollinate their individual plants or ensure that no other members of this vast family are growing nearby. And since nobody really knows how far a squash bee can travel, nearby is either a relative or a useless term, or maybe it's relatively useless or more likely a useless relative. Anyway, the exception to this rule, for some curious reason, is watermelons. If you only grow one variety and it is an open pollinated variety, the saved seed should produce the same fruit. Just make sure it's dead ripe before you pick it. We move on to storage. Storage is a numbers game. Wherever you store your seeds, the temperature and humidity should add up to no more than 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That means no bathroom, no kitchen, no damp corner of your basement. A hydrometer will reveal the numbers you need to know. Insurance. Your seeds must be bone dry before they go into their jars or seed-saving envelopes. If a sample seed bends instead of breaks, it is not ready. And even sealed jars of big seeds should contain one or more of those desiccating pouches that come in vitamin and supplement bottles to help keep things dry. Envelopes containing smaller seeds should be grouped together and placed in sealed jars with several desiccating pouches. Well, that sure was a lot of fun facts about saving seeds, now wasn't it? Luckily for you, the question of the week appears in print at the Gardens Alive website, where you can read it over at your leisure or your leisure. Just click the link for the question of the week at our website, which is still and will forever be, say it with me, kids, YBetYourGarden.org. Gardens Alive supports the You Bet Your Garden question of the week, and you will always find the latest question of the week at the Gardens Alive website. Yikes, my producer is threatening to unsave my seeds if I don't get out of this studio. We must be out of time. But you can call us anytime at 833-727-9588 or send us your email. You're tired, you're poor, your wretched refuse teeming towards our garden shore at YBYG at WLVT.org. You'll find all of this contact information, answers to hundreds of your garden questions, audio of this show, video of this show, audio and video of old shows, and our podcast. It's all at our website, YouBetYourGarden.org. You Bet Your Garden is a half-hour public television show, an hour-long public radio show, and podcast, all produced and delivered to you weekly by Rodale Institute Television and Radio in association with Lehigh Valley Public Media in Bethlehem, PA. Our radio show is distributed by PRX, the Public Radio Exchange. You Bet Your Garden was created by Mike McGrath. Mike McGrath was created by Steve Allen on an early version of The Tonight Show and was originally played by Don Knotts. Our musical director is Ken Queter. Our chief content officer is Yoni Greenbaum. Our angel of the airwaves is Christine Dempsey. Our engineer, cheerful Charlie Sarah, is off on a secret mission. Our social media director is Amanda Norfleet. Check out her fine work and ponder lots of beautiful pictures at the You Bet Your Garden Facebook page. Our peerless princess of profound production is Tavia Minnick. Our website wonder is Nicole Harrell. Our audio editor is the lovely Jonas Bowen. Our video editor is judicious Jake Boyer. Our harassed and harried director is Javier Diaz. The usual gang of idiots this week includes Eric Werner, John Flynn, and Zach the Tack. We challenged our fearless leader, CEO, and Grand Poobah Tim Fallon to try and say Susie sells seedy seeds at the sadly sunken seashore 100 times. He got to 5 before he realized what was going on and then chased us all out of the studio. I'm your host, Mike McGrath, and thanks to Miss Diane, I have my first run of 75 garlic cloves in the ground with another 75 ready to go. 150 cloves on the wall, 150 cloves. Take them down, pass them around, and hey, I didn't say you could keep them. Get back here.